Yo, peace. Welcome to part two of my Q&A. I want to say thank you to all the people that has been submitting questions. You know what I mean. Shout out to you guys. You know what I mean. That means a lot. I was gonna do the next person, but my video got cut off because it could only record for 30 minutes. So I'll just go on to the next person. Next person is Hannah Bear. Shout out to you. Thanks for letting me in so late. This question is a weird one. Sorry in advance if it's annoying to do. If you were paid to do a 5-album series based on films, so production as well as lyrics themed on 5 different films. Example, an album based on Return of the Living Dead, another based on Apocalypse Now. Which 5 films would you do and why? I always noticed you make beats and reference films to describe their vibe, and I know you're a film head, so I'd like to hear about that. An easier one, back in the day, hip hop albums had cool cover art much of the time, even if it's a cool take on the photo concept. So name some of your favorite hip hop album covers. Cheers. Good question. That's a good question. Movies. So I'm assuming you're asking me like any movies like, but that would be turned into a hip hop album. I think that's what you're trying to ask me. Like, what movie that I like that would be dope that has a theme to it. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, Apocalypse One, Apocalypse Now would be a good example. That would be pretty dope. I just like how Apocalypse Now. I like the cinematography. I like the whole concept of you know, Willard, played by Charlie Martin Sheen, is out to go look for Marlon Brando's character. I forgot his name. It's been years since I've seen that movie. That he had to go all the way to Cambodia just to go look for him, pretty much to go kill him, but just like the journey they had to go through just to get to that, I thought that was pretty dope. Apocalypse Now, that was a pretty good one. Terminator, the first one, I like that one because I like the grittiness of the movie. I like the whole concept of it. Kind of brings you back to the beginning of how it started, how it all started. How Sarah Connor became who she was now. Because she was a regular plain Jane. You know what I mean? Regular Jane. Just trying to make ends meet, and then she meet this guy Kyle Reese from the whole, like from Skynet, from the future, and then how they intertwined, and then John Connor was born, and I like that whole concept. And then you had the T-1000 Terminator on Schwarzenegger's just like coming after people, like just trying to kill Sarah Connor. So like John Connor wouldn't be born and stuff like that. That's 2. 3. I would say Jacob's Ladder. I think that would be a dope movie. I think that would be a dope movie to talk about, like, as far as like if someone was to make a album from that movie, I think that would be dope. Just the fact that with Jacob's Ladder kind of shows you what Vietnam veterans at the time was going through, because a lot of times they was going through a lot of them got hooked on drugs like heroin, LSD and stuff like that, and it's just like the post-traumatic stress disorder that they go through, like just some of the things that they see, like people like the civilians wouldn't understand unless they went to talk in the war themselves. It's just like how he's seeing things, but he's trying to tell people that he see this, but people look at me like he's crazy. You know what I mean? So I think that would be a dope. It's always to make an album based on that movie. That would be dope. That's 3. Maniac, with Frank Zito, Joe Spinell, rest in peace to him. Just the fact that that movie, how I think that would be a dope movie to do. If you was to make an album based on that movie, because just on the simple fact that he's pretty much a loner. Like, he has a hatred for women because of pretty much his mom being an abuse, is just abusing him and stuff like that. Just lock him in the closet, and because of that, That's just, and his mom was a prostitute too, so like there was never like a, motherly son relationship. He never had that. So, and because of all the torture that his mom has done to him over the years, it just definitely gave him like a hatred towards women, like, stuff like that. And that's one of my all time favorite hip hop slasher films, horror films and stuff like that. So that's four. Fifth one, mm, I would have to say Death Wish. Yeah, Death Wish, because you know here's a guy who's an architect, dude got money, mind his own business, regular family man, and got these punks that murdered his wife. Um, they both got raped. His wife died. The daughter pretty much was a vegetable. Like she's just like she became catatonic. You know what I mean? And she's like just like out of it. You know what I mean? And like obviously she's traumatized. And then like he just seeks revenge on, like, he never found the people that did it to him, but he just became like a vigilante. Like he's just trying to like kill off all the evil motherfuckers in the world, man, that's just causing harm to people. And he's just doing like what most people would want done, like just get rid of the bad people that's no good to this world. And I love that. I think that's a great movie. It's one of my favorite movies too. Um, so hopefully that answers your question. So that's five. That was the first question. Second one, about the album covers. Yeah. I was with Redman's "There Is a Dark Side." That's a dope cover. I just like the whole red hue that it had. Like I love the red casing that came with it, the red jewel case. Like how he pretty much paid a homage to the Funkadelic Maggot Brain Theory album cover, where like you had the girl with the afro stuck in the ground, buried in the ground. Like he did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Where Redman had the yeah, when he had the afro and stuff like that. And I like that one too. Another one I liked, Muddy Waters by Redman. That was another dope album cover. That I don't know, for some reason that album cover made me wanna go get into Redman. You know what I mean? Just like just him all dirty and muddy and stuff like that. So when you hear an album like that, you're gonna get some grit. You know what I mean? And you did get that from that album. Um, Obviously not as dirty as There Was a Dark Side, not as dark obviously, but it still has that grit and it has that dirt into it. You know what I mean? But that's another one that kind of stuck to me. Um, Something more recent. Um, the 2007 album by Black Milk, Popular Demand. I don't know, for some reason, like I like when artists has like their gear with them. Like he just had his MPC 2000 XL just carry, like he's just carrying around. He's looking like this, and you see like the movie theater right in the background. And for some reason, I don't know why, but it made me want to go get that album. And I do have it. Um, I just like how I just like stuff like that. That's I don't know. It just entices me for some reason. Like I just like seeing people dedicated to their gear. Cause I make beats myself, so I'm a gearhead. I guess that's a gearhead of me. Popular Demand by Black Milk. Um, there's a whole bunch, but I can't think of. Oh, J. Rue the Damages, Sunrises in the East. Love the album cover for that. You just see him like chilling, just posing. You see like the Manhattan skyline. You see like the World Trade Center on fire, because a year before, back in '93, you had the terrorists trying to bomb the World Trade Center, but they end up crashing and dying and shit. That so that never happened. But it just so happened. It's just crazy because it kind of seemed like he was trying to foretell the future in a sense where um because it happened. The Twin Towers, you know, just went down. 7 years after the album came out, so it was kind of foretelling the future, and kind of creepy in a sense, but it was pretty interesting. Um, Fat Joe's Represent, where like you just see him in the black, like in the black fleece, jeans, boots, and you see like like the Bronx in the back of him, like you just see like the like you see the you just see like the ruins right like the projects and the ruins in the back of him. Like I like shit like it's simple but it's dope. Like it kind of gives you the vibe of the album. You know what I mean? Um, there's a couple others, but I can't think of everything on the top of my head. Oh, I liked Coogee Rap 456. I just liked how he's with his mans and shit. Like they're just playing CeeLo, and it's just like it kind of gives you that street vibe, to the album. So those are some of my favorite hip hop albums. There's a bunch more, but I can't think of everything myself. And that was by Hannah B. Bear. Hopefully I answered your question. So shout out to you. All right. The next person that I was supposed to do yesterday, but my shit got cut off, is my dude Carlos 12920. I know this is a hip hop question, but what are some of your favorite horror movies? Thank you for your question. Henry Beard, thanks for those questions. So Carlos asked me what's my favorite horror movies. Some I would have to say the first four Friday the 13th. Because I like when in the first one, Jason wasn't the killer; it was his mom's. So it kind of give you like a background how the whole movie started, and just show you guys something, to show you guys how much of a fan I am. I got the vinyl. I had to get it. You know what I'm saying? So, yep. That kind of shows you how much of a fan I am. But anyways, getting back to that, yeah, the first four Friday 13s, if I had to choose like at least one or two, I would have to say part two and part four. Part two because like just the fact that you see Jason. This is before he had the hockey mask. He had like the burlap sack, and with the one eye, and he was like more human. He wasn't like all zombified like he did in the later movies. Like he was moving all slow. Just the fact that it looked like somebody that you would find like in the wilderness somewhere, just like some crazy motherfucker, and in a hut somewhere, it's just praying over the wild, and you look scary, you look crazy, you know what I'm saying? With the one eye, it was crazy. Part four, love. I just love how I like the kills that he had in the movie. Just like the music and stuff like that. Same thing with part two. And some of the nudity in that movie, whew. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. That's some of my favorites. Maniac with Joe Spinell, like, as I explained to him, which I explained earlier. Excuse me. Yeah, there's a whole bunch, man. I would say, yeah, Maniac, the first four Friday 13s, Halloween 2. I would say the first five Halloweens. Those are my favorite. Those are some of my favorites. Um, there's a tons. The first Children of the Corn. I like that one. I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but I like it. I fucks with it. I love the score in the movie. Just like the whole concept. Um, the first two Omens. Not the remake that came out in '06 with Julia Stiles. That shit sucked. The first, the ones that came out in the '70s. The one that came out in '76 and the one that came out in '78. Those are my favorite Omen movies. I like those a lot. Um, I could go on and on and on, but you pretty much get the point with that. And that was by my dude Carlos 12920. Thank you for that question. Next question is by my dude Nath Jones. What are your top three hip hop albums of all time? Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Cause on top of my head, I would have to say "Hard to Earn" by Gangstar, and that album actually came out today. 21 years ago today, it came out today, so it's like the 21st anniversary of Hard to Earn. So, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah, Hard to Earn by Gangstar. Method Man to Cal, the first one, that's like my favorite. I just love you know, just like the dirtiness that RZA is just just like how danky and basement vibe that it has to it. And getting back to Hard to Earn, I like how stripped down the beats are, you know, compared to their first three albums, because the first three albums were like more jazzy, it was like more melodic, but but Hard to Earn was like more stripped down, it was more gutter. Primo was pretty like fuck this, we're gonna break the rules. We're gonna just sample some like obscure jazz or some obscure weird noises, just make food out of nothing. You know what I mean? And that's what I got from that. Um, that's what I got from Gang from that Hard to Earn. It was definitely one of his most experimental albums too. Very well produced in my opinion, very dope, and obviously Hell on Earth by Mobb Deep. Those are like my top three, and I've explained why I like Hell on Earth. I think you guys heard enough of that, so I'm not gonna get into that. And that's my dude, Nav Jones. Shout out to you for that question. Um, Next question is by JS718, and he is. I'd love to hear your top five most underrated rappers. Wow, there's a whole bunch, man. There's a whole bunch. Um, One of them I would have to say Scaramanga. For those who don't know who Scaramanga is, he is um, if you guys are familiar with the whole Ruckus Records era, then you would know he was known as Sir Menelik. He went by Sir Menelik or Cyclops 4000. So yeah, that dude, his lyrical, his ear for beats, his his multi-syllable lyricism is just like so fucking ill. Like the way he spits, man, is just like he kind of remind me of Godfather Don, like what like they kind of what's will be in my next MC that I'm gonna mention. But it's just like his aura, his whole aura. He's just I don't know, man. He's not human. It's just the way he spits, man. Like I said, the multi-syllable and like the abstract lyricism, like you would have to decipher. I just love that. That's one of them. The second, like I just mentioned, is Godfather Don. The same thing with Scaramanga. Love his production too. Like my dude. Shout out to my nigga Miss Anthropic one. Shout out to you, my nigga. Um, he did a review on his Donnie Brasco album back in 2010, and he kind of described Godfather Don as the gangster Lost Professor, and I definitely agree with that. Because they're both dope lyricists. Um, just the way he has with words, man, is like, and it goes back to what I said about Scaramanga with the abstract lyricism, but it's like you have to decipher what he has to say and things like that. So that's two, Godfather Don. Third MC, all I would have to say is, I just had it on top of my head. Um, Kool Keith. Kool Keith. I feel like he's definitely very underrated. He's a dope MC. He's a dope producer too. He makes dope beats. I just like how out there he is. You know what I mean? Like he's really weird. You know what I mean? It's not like fucking Little B. He's trying to like people like to compare him as the next Kool Keith. Like I don't agree with that because I think Little B, he's just a motherfucker that takes mad drugs and he's just trying to be all bugged out. Kool Keith is really out there. Like he's like if you see some of his interviews, you be like, oh, this nigga is out there. But he's himself. You know what I mean? He's not afraid to express himself the way he is. The it's just like his love for porn, just the weird costumes that he be wearing and shit like that. I mean, you can't go wrong, man. Like there can never be another Kool Keith. Kool Keith is that dude. I mean, he came out with classic albums with Ultra Magneta MCs. His Sex Styles out, Sex Style. When he was Dr. Octagon with the Dr. Octagonologist. The Black Elvis in Space. Matthew, all that shit, man. Like you can't go wrong with that. Kool Keith, he's another one. Another person. That's three. believe it, I would have to say Tragedy Gaddafi, man. I think he's very underrated in my opinion. I feel like he, because when people think of QB, people always think of Mobb Deep, Prodigy, like, Prodigy, Nas, um, you know, MC Shan, and cats like that. They Cormega and things like that. But I kind of feel like Tragedy doesn't really get the recognition he deserves. I mean, he gets respect in the hood, but like overall with an overall street, like overall hip hop, the whole masses, I don't feel like he gets recognized as he should have because he's the MC that turned Illmatic. He he brought in mad people into the game like Capone Noriega. His whole lyrics, like his ear for beats are dope. His whole lyrical style was, a lot of people kind of borrowed his style and stuff like that, man. Just his whole aura. Just love his interviews and stuff like that, So, and I definitely have to do some reviews from his albums because I do have some of his albums. So that's 4 and 5. Killer Sin. Killer Sin from Wu Tang. I mean, from Killer Army, excuse me. Killer Sin. I mean, his voice, like when he spits on the mic, he definitely spits venom. Like his voice, his delivery. Like some say he kind of sound like Raekwon in a sense. Not quite, but a little bit, but not really. If you get what I'm trying to say, just like his aggressiveness on the mic, and I fucking love that dude, man. I just wish he should stay out of jail. You know what I'm saying? Because this nigga, man, he stay in trouble, man, and hopefully he gets out soon. I don't know. He went to jail for attempted murder, so might be in there for a couple years. So who knows? And it's by my dude JS718. Thank you for that question. Next question is by Miguel El Papi Sucio. Oh man, that's a dope name. Do you like the Dookie chain in my videos? Yeah, I do. That's pretty dope, man. It's like they bring back to the 80s. That's pretty cool, man. And Mustafa, and that was by Miguel El Sucio Papio, El Papi Sucio. And next question is by Mustafa Shakur. And why when you review video, you don't tell us the name of the samples? Because you gotta go dig, man. Stop being lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll admit, like, I do, sample snitch, but I try not to do it too much because, like, I think people have the internet. You got a whole bunch of websites you could go find, where the samples are. And, when I make beat videos, I'm definitely not gonna tell you guys what I sample. You might get something, you might hear something familiar, and that's another thing too. A disclaimer: if you hear a sample, just keep it to yourself because sample clearances is a bitch. That's why you hear all this techno shit. Like, it's because people like you that try to, they try to put that shit on the comment section. YouTube find that and they flag the video. We don't need that, man. So. That's some straight bullshit. But yeah, that's why I don't tell I don't, and it is just part of the culture. You know what I mean? It's just like a chef. A chef is not gonna tell you everything he or she makes. That's their signature. You know what I mean? So it takes away the fun of the whole element of surprise. I like the element of surprise. Like when I go digging sometimes, like I find some of my favorite samples that some of my favorite artists had sampled. I'm like, oh shit, just like the whole element of surprise. You know what I mean? So that's what I get from that. And that was by my dude Mustafa Shakur. Let me see how much time I got left. Alright, I'm gonna have to cut it short because it's almost time. But stay tuned for part 3. Alright.